Hi, spiritual beings living in a human meat suit. In this episode, Frank and I chatted with Jules Davis, a psychic medium, Reiki master, spiritual teacher, and intuitive healer. We talked about what a great teacher she is. I know because I experienced it firsthand. A car accident that changed her life, the intense energies of Egypt, and so much more. I'm Lauren Leon.
And I want it that way.
Wow. We are a married couple learning how to develop our own intuition, and this is episode 72 of Clairvoyaging.
Tell me why.
Ain't nothing but a heartache.
Tell me why.
Ain't nothing but a mistake.
Tell me why.
I never wanna
Hear you say.
Wayfeather Media presents Clairvoyaging.
Oh.
Hi, friends.
Wait. It's gonna be me. Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah. Hi.
Hey, guys.
I was rapping about it being almost May.
I guess
By the
it's-
time you listen to it, it will be May.
That's true.
Or it could be December. Who knows?
I think this makes it official. The boy band episode?
Yeah.
Jules
Yeah.
is, I don't know how Jules is going to feel about that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's not really
That's
Jules'
okay.
style. Hi, guys. Frank, how you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. How are you?
Great. I don't have much to update you with today, although I do have a quick reminder about our documentary. We're fundraising so that we can film in Austin, Texas.
We're putting the fun in fundraising.
Heck yeah.
No, we're not.
And I want to thank everyone who has donated so far.
Thank you guys so much.
We're at like $800 of
Hey,
our
you know what?
$15,000 goal.
Slow and steady.
Slow and steady does indeed win the race. So if you'd like to support our documentary about psychic mediums, go to clairvoyaging.com/support and click on the link for the 501c3. Get some cool rewards and also a tax deductible donation.
A really cool form to fill out at the end of the year.
I don't know if is it a form?
I have no
Maybe.
idea. I outed myself as having never donated to a 501c3 just now, I suppose.
No, the bigger thing is that you don't do your own taxes.
Fuck, guys.
Mama does them.
Listen, there are brains and there are bronze, and Lauren has both. So I'm not sure what I'm doing here.
What are you good for?
I don't know.
Yeah, right. Frank has a lot of stuff around
Enough
here.
with this. Let's talk
Okay.
about Jules.
Okay, so I loved talking to Jules because I know her. She was my teacher. She taught me Reiki level 1 and 2 and also my master class. And I did a 1-year mentorship program with her. So it was really fun to get a little more info.
I mean, I've only heard about Jules secondhand for so long, so that this is my first time meeting her. I was
Yeah.
super stoked to hang out.
Yeah.
So
She's very cool, super grounded, and just really knowledgeable. And she's really helped me with a lot of inner healing. She's powerful like that.
yeah, she's a very gifted, intuitive. And
Yeah.
It's cool to hear her stories. Also, she recently has been going on trips to Egypt with certain classes, and man, she's got some stories from over there.
Yeah.
Seems like a super powerful place. I think suddenly it's on my bucket list. So
Yeah. Who knew?
who knew?
I didn't know. Certainly didn't know. So without further ado, let's get to Jules. Right, Frank?
Let's do it.
All right. Let's play ball. Jules Davis, thank you so much for joining us today. This is so fun, especially for me, because you've been my mentor for the last year and a half. I went through your whole year-long mentorship program. And we started this podcast right before I learned Reiki. So,
You're excited, especially for you.
oh, and especially for you.
Especially for me.
Right.
Yeah, look at this. It's already begun.
Yeah.
But so we love to start our episodes with a little backstory. So Can you tell us how you got into the amazing work that you do now?
Sure. Well, I think, probably started several lifetimes ago, to be fair. I don't think this is the first time I've done what I'm doing here, but in this lifetime, I've always had spiritual experiences since I was a little girl. So I had various mediumistic experiences, and I had a lot of precognitive dreams and psychic experiences as a child. Like, I don't remember never having those. I always had them. And then when I was about, I would say 27, my mom passed away, and I was getting really loud mediumistic experiences, like even louder than I had them previously. And so I was starting to search for where I could study and train in my mediumistic, development, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was having a really hard time finding classes. And then eventually in 2010, I got into a bad car accident. I was now 30 years old and changed my life quite dramatically. I was in a lot of pain and looking for ways to heal my body. And I kept hearing that Reiki was going to help me on the path. So I didn't know how or why, but I just knew that it was going to help me. I had received Reiki before, but I had never done any Reiki training. So in the midst of me looking for where I could learn Reiki, I started seeing somebody who did Reiki, and she was also a psychic and medium, and I started taking her intuitive development courses. And so that's where I first started with my official training, would be in intuitive development, and I took several 5 or 6 week circles that she offered. And then finally, I found my first Reiki teacher, and I started doing the Reiki classes. And from there, it just opened up this whole new experience for me. Like, this is why all of this difficult stuff had happened, because now I'm going to be helping other people in some way heal themselves. So as I was working through my own healing journey and learning how to heal my body, because I had pretty severe spinal injuries from head to toe, I was in pain. I had PTSD pretty severely as well. And so I was just looking for ways to heal all of me. And so I'm taking all these classes and learning things as I'm healing myself. And so it just kind of all culminated together, and then, set me off in the direction that I'm in now, and eventually started my business, and that took off from there.
And you also you did really a lot of work doing the certified Reiki Master Teacher program, right? Through the ICRT. You work with William Rand, who created that center.
Wait,
too.
ICRT. Hit us.
I said it right? ICRT, International Center for Reiki Training.
Okay, okay, got it.
You said it right. Yeah. Yeah. So obviously, since then, there's been a whole bunch of developments in my career and professional life, and I've done a lot of further extensive training. So for many years, I studied different systems of Reiki. And in 2014, when the Holy Fire Reiki system came out, I was one of the first, 500 or so students that received the energy. And I was in a Holy Fire Karuna Reiki Master class with William here, actually in Redondo Beach, where I live, but I didn't live here at the time, just actually down the street from where I am now. And that really opened up a whole new level for me, because he suggested that I join the licensed Reiki Master Teacher training program at that point. Now, a licensed Reiki Master Teacher for the International Center for Reiki Training, basically, we have to go through an additional, they say it's like a 3 to 4 year process. It really depends on how established your business is and how quickly you can go through the program. But it's sort of like the doctorate program, I would say, or the advanced Reiki teacher training program. It's an additional 1,000+ hours and all these different requirements that you have to fill over a certain amount of time. And you work with a mentor teacher in that program. So eventually I completed that training and became a licensed Reiki Master Teacher for the International Center for Reiki Training. And I'm the head of the legislative committee there. And then I also work in a lot of different capacities there. And now I'm also a mentor teacher for people who are coming in to the licensed Reiki Master Teacher training program and want to be licensed teachers for our organization. So that's one of the things that I do. And so I teach all of our different systems of Reiki, which is Holy Fire 3 online and in-person world peace Reiki. And I do that for Usui and Karuna Reiki, and also our ICRT animal Reiki system. I'm additionally a professional psychic and medium, and I did lots of training in that. So I don't know how much you want me to get into with all the different years of training and certifications and different programs I've done. But let's just say I'm an avid learner and continue to learn as I grow.
You know your shit.
Yeah.
When I was learning Reiki, I was like, well, I think I need to go to the person who like did so much training.
Yeah.
That's so impressive and so cool.
I think at this point it's like 13 different systems of Reiki I've trained in over the years.
Wow.
And part of that is the progressions of Holy Fire, because Holy Fire keeps evolving as well. But yeah, I've done a lot of trainings.
Also, I remember when we were looking for, because Lauren's like, oh, I think I want to learn Reiki.
Just like out of nowhere. It was very like, I don't know why, but suddenly it was like, I think I have to learn how to do it.
And
now I kind of realize why, because I needed to do the like deep healing that you helped me so much with. And yeah, but go on.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that, like, this was our first like entrance into these practices. And, Lauren was the guinea pig, and we were looking for, we were doing a bunch of research online, trying to see like, oh, who seems like comfortable, who seems like a cool person to like talk to, and seems grounded too, because there's so many, I'm sure you've run into them. There's so many spiritual leaders who have this like kind of gatekeeping vibe to them, where it's like everyone's like too calm and like lots of pastels. Lots of pastels. And
don't wear bright red lipstick. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. Like, we went on like your like Instagram, and I think I saw a picture of you at like a No Effect show, and like I was like, oh, her.
Yeah. Rick was like, oh no, you have to go to Jules now, because I saw her at a No Effects show.
Yeah. I don't know if it was like a picture of you with a fat mic or something I'm a former punk and still a punk in my heart. So when I saw that, I was like, this is, and Reiki. Okay. This is a good entrance for us, I think.
Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't know that backstory.
I know, yeah.
I've been friends with those guys since like 1996, I think. So
That's awesome. That's so
I was
cool.
a punk rock concert promoter for many years.
Were you really?
Yeah. Many years.
See?
So my friends,
Yeah.
lots of friends in the punk rock scene, and yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
It sounds like learning Reiki was something that you eventually like led into, right? Like those years, let's see, like before your car accident, like how much psychic and development had you done to that point? Or was this a talent that you had that you weren't really leaning into?
Yeah, so it was something that I had that I wasn't leaning into before that car accident. So the car accident was really a catalyst for me starting to develop and learn more about the gifts that I had. I had all these abilities. I just didn't really have a channel for where to put them before that incident. So it was quite a life-changing event. It was very difficult in a lot of ways, and still is, because it changed my body permanently, but also brought me to my purpose, I feel. So yeah, I hadn't done any training previously. I mean, I'd been around spiritual stuff since I was a kid, because my parents were really into all this stuff.
Oh, cool.
So it wasn't like foreign to me. It was just that I hadn't taken any formal training on any of it.
I was going to ask you if it like scared you. I mean, I remember you saying when you were a kid, you like slept with all your stuffed animals like around your head.
Oh yeah.
And at some point before you started development, was there a point where you were like, okay, I'm more comfortable with it, even though I don't know how to develop it?
I think the mediumship always just freaked me out when I was a kid. Like I had spiritual experiences almost every night, so I never wanted to sleep alone.
Wow.
And then eventually the stuffed animals, once I was in my own room, I like had stuffed animals just all over my head. Like if I hid under the covers, then they wouldn't see me or something, like kid rationale. And then, as an adult, like living on my own, which I did for most of my adult life, I've lived by myself, and I would get scared sometimes too. But really, especially in my 20s before I started to develop this. And I was working in the music industry and I was working in bars. And so I was just like picking things up all the time.
Right.
And so at night, when I'd try to go to sleep, I would see different spirits and things in my bedroom and have these weird experiences. And I was like, nope, can't go to sleep. So I was a total insomniac for years because I could not go to sleep like when it was dark out, and I just preferred to be with other people. So I spent a lot of years partying late and doing things just to like have that companionship because I just couldn't sleep at night. And so it wasn't until I really started to understand it that I became more comfortable and felt safer.
So after your car accident, and when you said you were hearing Reiki, was that people were telling you, or you were hearing it in your mind, like you're going to learn Reiki?
Like intuitively.
Yeah.
I was being told that Reiki was going to be part of my path for healing. So
were you like, I guess I just got to do it? Why?
I mean, by that point, I had learned enough that I needed to trust my intuition.
Yeah.
Even the night that I got into the accident, I don't know if I told you this story, but I had heard that I needed to turn and I didn't turn, and then I got into that accident.
Oh my gosh.
That was kind of a turning point for me of like, when you hear things, listen.
Really?
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
No, you didn't say that. That's fascinating.
Let me get some clarification really quick. What you have all the clairs?
I have all the clairs.
Okay.
Every clair you can list, I have the clair. So sometimes when I hear things, if I hear a direct kind of command, it's very clear that it's coming from something beyond me. So that could be, in this case, it was turn right. And that didn't make sense because I was on the most direct route to where I was going. And if I turned right, then I would have had to turn left at another light, and it would have been an awkward, clunky way. So my logical mind said, no, that doesn't make sense. And literally about 30 seconds later, I got hit by this person.
Oh, wow.
And so, after that, it was like, listen, when you get a message, you just gotta listen to it.
Wait, that's so interesting. Because I always think about, people talk about, I want to get your take on this. People talk about like alternate timelines, or also you choose, like, before you come into this body, you choose kind of like your life path or the setup. How much, I don't know how to even phrase this question, but like in that moment, would you consider that is like a moment of free will, or was the accident, do you think, always going to happen no matter what?
I think it's kind of like, it's funny that I'm going to use this as an example. It's kind of like Final Destination, where if you dodge it one time, it's going to come back in like another way. Like you can't escape it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So for me, I think that we have some choice in, I'm going to come into this lifetime and this is what I'm going to work on, my healing or growth patterns or something like that. I believe that part of our consciousness has a say in that. But how everything unfolds, I think that we have free will and other people have free will. So not everything could be controlled by a predestined fate, if that makes sense. But some of the challenging experiences that we go through might appear in different forms depending on choices that we make, I guess, is how I kind of view it. So like if I had listened that night and turned right, maybe I wouldn't have gotten into that car accident, but maybe some other thing would have been a catalyst for me to find my way to where I am now, or it would have come later. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, or that's what I feel. So I don't feel like we can escape everything that maybe is supposed to be. Like, I feel like I'm supposed to be here and this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know why my soul likes to choose things to be quite loud and noisy and difficult for me to get there. Like, can we have a little bit more of a gentle life, please?
Yeah.
Do I have to experience everything? But also, like, so many things that I do experience help me to help other people. And so when I can channel it into something good, it helps me get through it or past it a lot faster or easier, too. So yes, I believe we have free will. I also believe certain things are predestined, or kind of arranged by our soul, like the family that we choose and the situations that we choose, but that there's also things that can go differently depending on our choices and other people's choices in the moment.
Yeah. Do you think that voice that told you to turn was your higher self or like a spirit guide?
I don't ever know exactly, to be honest, and I don't know that we can know. I think sometimes it's coming from my spirit team that just is like one loud kind of voice, and sometimes it might be coming from a higher expression of my soul. I think in this case, it was more likely my spirit team looking out for me, than my soul could have been in that moment where it was focused on something else, I guess.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just like throwing rows of questions right now. Do you, there's some people that we've talked to who like know some of the names of their spirit guides. Do you have that? I don't think I've asked you.
Yeah, I've identified some of them, not all of them, over the years. And then there's other beings that I think have the ability to work with all of us, like work a lot with the angels and the archangels and other deities that are familiar, or masters of healing and other ascended masters people know. They're part of my team. I feel like I have ancestors on my team. And then there's other beings that have told me a name or have shown themselves to me. I don't always know their name. And then I think there's others that I still haven't met yet. I think we have a pretty big spirit team. That's my feeling. So certain beings come forward at different times when we need them, and some are just there for the entirety of our life. That's what I feel.
In our conversations on the show, I've gotten a sense that it's, you always think it's like, oh, it's like 5 elite spirit, but I think it's more like a football team and like special teams in that football team. Like, oh, hey, Frank needs this or whatever. Like bring in the guys who are better at making dinner than he is right now, because he needs help. You don't put hot dogs and mac and cheese.
Yeah, that's definitely what I feel.
I'm not about it.
Yeah. Nutritious and delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot. I feel like I have an army, which is amazing, because, a lot of times people feel like they're so alone in the world. And I'm like, but you have all these amazing beings that are helping you. And that makes it less lonely when you realize like how supported you really are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's really an amazing thing for people to actually recognize. I'm going to, I've always been a fan of like the esoteric and stuff. And like usually my late night car rides were always on a Coast to Coast AM, mostly with George Norrie. I did a lot of that. But one of the things I always noted from listening to that show at like 2 a.m, they would always go on the air, even on holidays. And one of the reasons they'd say so is because a lot of the people that call in are lonely and this is their family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for those people who like, appreciate this, if you want to call it paranormal stuff, but like feel alone, like that recognition that like they are not alone whatsoever is so important, I think. And I just wish more people knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what things like this, like your podcast, can help people understand, and also just better understand themselves in general, because so many people don't know like what they're experiencing or how to approach their sensitivities, or they think that it's a weakness in some way, or don't know how to use it, or are scared like, I was when I was little.
Right.
And I was scared even in a household where my mom was very, very vocal about her psychic and mediumistic experiences. We went to mediums, we went to astrologers.
Oh, wow.
I grew up at yoga retreats. I mean, it wasn't like it was some hidden thing in my house, but I still was always scared of it. I didn't understand it. So I think it's really important to help people understand what it is they're experiencing.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
that's
your mom,
so interesting.
Was your mom also?
She was like a natural medium. She didn't really use it in a professional capacity, but she always had experiences and she would share them with us when we were young.
That's very cool. Did you have a period like most people do where your rebellious phase was maybe to not engage in that stuff at all? Or was it always like kind of in the background, like you were into it a little bit?
No, it was always pretty much there.
Okay.
And then, I couldn't escape it, to be honest.
Sure.
Having the dreams and all those, I would freak my friends out when I was young, or guys that I was dating, like, who's this? I had this dream, and all that kind of stuff all the time. Oh, yeah.
Have you...
They're like, why do you know so much?
Since you've developed more, are you still having those precog dreams? And
sometimes I do. Yeah.
Do you know how to manage them better, or what to do with them more? Or is it still always kind of just I always imagine precognitive dreams are like what do I do with this information kind of situation.
Yeah.
Usually I share it if it feels strong enough.
Sure.
What do you feel like gets in the way for people who are learning their intuition? Like how to open it up more? Like what is kind of are there a couple of recurring themes or blocks for people?
I think the most common one is just not trusting.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people get more information than they want to give because they don't want to be wrong, and they don't trust the information that they're getting. Sometimes also just the fear of being wrong. Sometimes people won't share what they're experiencing because they're afraid of being judged or looking funny for saying something. So I think those are the main two things, like a lack of confidence and a lack of trust in the information that people are getting.
Yeah. I feel like my intuition has opened up a little bit more just from learning Reiki and doing the healing, the trauma healing work. Mm-hmm. So that was just a side note to say, you've been really helpful in all of your insight and guidance to healing trauma and looking at childhood trauma and let's heal that, and going back and doing that. And I feel like that helps create a better foundation for developing intuition.
Yeah. Well, the mentorship that you were in was an intuitive energy healer mentorship. So the purpose is to deepen your intuition with your healing.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
And the more I feel like we open up our intuition with our healing practice, the more easily we can tune in and help other people. Is it required? No. But will you be more effective? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Personally. So the more you can understand the people and what they need, I think the deeper you can take the session.
I attuned Frank.
Mm-hmm.
For better or worse?
To what level? Reiki?
Yeah. Reiki level 2.
Okay.
Probably at least 6 months ago. So I was like, oh, I think you're ready to be attuned to master level. But it's really funny because his hands, we've talked about this on the show, that your hands become very hot, very fast, and you can feel it activate. And I'm almost kind of jealous about it because you said it almost you feel it click on almost. What the hell?
It's been 30 episodes or so since I've said this, but yeah, I turn on the hot biscuits. They feel like hot biscuits. I'm holding warm rolls.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. That's more of a comment rather than
I think
a
Lauren's
question.
just venting her jealousy right now.
As in your hands don't get as warm? Is that what you're saying? Or you don't feel it turn on or flow through you in the same way?
I feel like he feels heat, energetic heat. And I still feel almost cold spots. And I'm like, what? I wanted to feel more
within your hands or what do you...
It's I get
no, you're saying when you are scanning somebody.
Yeah, if I'm scanning someone, I'll get a little spot that feels almost like there's a little fan on my hand.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not it's not a heat thing. Is that just more practice to notice how it changes in your hands, or is that just how it comes through for me?
It could be just how it comes through for you. So you might feel the energy more in a cold temperature, but temperature changes are normal. So it could be hot, warm, cold. And that's just how you experience it.
Yeah.
Most people experience Reiki with heat, especially the holy fire can get really hot. And I would ask Frank, like, what does he feel? Because that's the most important thing versus what are you feeling as the practitioner? But in your hands, you might feel cold or they might not heat up to you, but actually he's feeling the sensation of that or different sensations in his body while you're working on him.
When I give
It doesn't
you Reiki,
have to be hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it warm?
No. When you're performing Reiki on me, it feels more like almost like a tingle, almost like a light buzzing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh. Glad we worked this out.
I feel like you just need to not have expectations when it comes to what you're receiving.
I agree. Just let the Reiki flow and don't think too much about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you have students that like come back at some point or like are like it didn't work? Or, have you had like weird students that are just like, you're like, you're attuned, it's fine. Like, just go practice.
Well, a lot of people doubt it, just like their intuition. Like, is it working? Is it working? Is it working? And that's why the partner practice is good, because when you get feedback from somebody else and they have an experience, that helps to validate that something happened, even if they didn't have a big experience during their attunements, which we call placements and ignitions in the Holy Fire systems and the animal Reiki system. So when they're experiencing their attunement or placement ignition, sometimes people are the Reiki works regardless of them. Yeah. As long as they're not laying there going, I don't want it, the Reiki is going to come in and work with them. Reiki does respect free will, but I've never seen an attunement not work. It's just that people often doubt and question, like, is it working? This is weird. Should I really believe in this stuff?
Yeah.
That's very common.
Yeah.
I get that. I mean, especially for people who aren't like necessarily that sensitive to their own clairs, like if you're just blindly accepting this thing, if it feels like you're blindly accepting this thing, it's like, how crazy am I now is what it feels like. But like, again, like, we've interviewed people who are doing, Latanya Hill, she's doing Reiki for like a nursing environment.
Yeah.
And like, it's like, well, the reason why that's even allowed to happen is because the doctors, regardless of if they believe it or not, they can't argue with the results. Like if at the very least, people are feeling more calm and more receptive to their traditional medicines because of what Reiki is bringing to the table.
Yeah.
So you can't argue with results.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's a big
deal. We haven't been able to do like really large studies, but they have done some clinical research for Reiki and shown its positive effects. And so it can never cause harm. And so that's like the main thing. It's not going to interfere in a negative way with anybody's processes, any medical treatments, any mental health practices, any just personal day-to-day things that we do. So I think that Reiki with some people, it just grows and over time it gets stronger. And so you might just feel more and more connected to the energy, and then you won't question it regardless of the temperature or something of that nature too. It's just building your trust in the energy itself.
It's more just jealousy that Frank's turn on like the flip of
just household competition. Yeah. Your hands get hotter.
Like, I want steamy biscuits.
Just some healthy domestic competition.
Reiki competition.
Whatever. One-sided too, by the way.
Completely. Yeah. Our kids love Reiki though. It's so cute. They like, I know I've told you our son goes like Reiki, 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 and then he'll heal you for like 10 seconds.
Well, he also requests Reiki sometimes before bed, which is very funny.
He'll like move your hand in a certain spot.
Oh, and he'll sing into his bed. It's very cute.
Yeah. Yeah.
A couple questions real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Unless, did you have more?
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I know you have more. I
just keep asking non-linear questions.
That's fine. So, I mean, you mentioned that your mom passing away was like a big moment for you in your development too, yeah? Mm-hmm. Have you like been able to connect with her since?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're very connected. Yeah, I think that it's almost like when she passed, I feel like she kind of increased some of the strength of some of my abilities or something. That's kind of how it felt afterwards.
That's cool.
Everything got louder and stronger.
Yeah.
But I had quite a few experiences of feeling her presence. And then very fortunately, through all the mediumistic training that I did, we got to heal a lot of our stuff through mediumship. Which I think is a very healing modality as well, connecting people to their loved ones and sometimes getting clarity or apologies or whatever is needed in those relationships. So her and I had a very challenging relationship, as similar as we are in some ways. We also had a lot of difficulties in our relationship when she was physically here. And so we've gotten to heal a lot of that to the point where I'm, happy to spend time with her. I invite her on all these things. And, we have such a better relationship now that she's made her transition, unfortunately, but it has helped us heal a lot of stuff. So I feel her around quite often. At times I've seen her in my sessions. I know early when I first started my business, I felt her around a lot because it was like I was doing something that she never got to do, but really wanted to do, which was healing work.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Wow. It's so cool.
Beautiful.
The way you describe it makes it sound like your mom is like such a tangible force for you.
Oh yeah, she's very present.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's such a great example too of like healing after someone's gone, because I feel like I'm sure you've had so many clients who have been like, my dad is mad at me, or my whoever they're trying to connect to, like we didn't have a great relationship. Are they still holding on to this grudge or whatever? And just, having your own experience with like, nope, you can like, one, they don't hold on to anything. And two, like you can heal even once they're gone.
Yeah.
Physically. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the great thing about life is that it keeps on going regardless of being in a physical body. So, they're continuing to evolve once they get into the spirit world or return home, whatever way you want to look at it. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
And honestly, in my experience as a medium, I feel like the spirits can see things a lot more clearly when they're not confined in their physical experience. So they tend to be more objective and see maybe where they could be more accountable for their behaviors. Not always have they dramatically evolved when I get to connect with them, but I can feel that there is an evolution. I've never felt a spirit that hadn't evolved in some way after their transition, including people that may have been really awful figures here in the physical world.
Yeah.
Just the fact that they can acknowledge their behavior, I think, is a step in the right direction. And then, if they want to apologize, which isn't always the case, they're not always coming through like, I'm going to be here to apologize. But if they can, that's another opportunity for them to heal, but also for the person here to receive healing. And not everybody is ready for that. By the way, there are plenty of readings that have happened where they didn't want to hear from yet who was coming through to talk to them because they weren't ready for that. So that also happens. And I respect their free will. Like,
sure.
Yeah.
You don't want to talk to this person. That's fine. I'm just letting you know they're here.
Whoa. And what does that person do? Go, oh man, I drove all this way for nothing.
No, I mean, I'll just move on to another spirit, but I think it's really incredible that that person showed up to try. You know? And I think just the human, the spirit is what I'm talking about, as the person that showed up to try. The human, it's up to them when they're ready to receive that, if ever. Yeah. If it doesn't work out that they heal that while they're here on the physical plane, at least they know that that person came through to try to work things out with them or apologize or whatever was happening there. And so when they get to reunite eventually, maybe they'll work it out later.
Yeah. Showing up is a big deal.
Yeah, I think even just acknowledging that they're there, whether the person knows it or not, who's receiving the contact, like meaning if Lauren came to me and then I was making a connection for her and she's like, yeah, I don't want to hear from that person, I would respect that and say, okay, I just want you to know that they're here. But she might leave going, well, what did they want to say?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to hear from them, but I'm happy they showed up, even if I didn't want to hear from them. Maybe over time she could get to that place, right?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe they do love me, or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I feel like so many psychic mediums have really different takes on, and maybe it's like training or like spiritualism versus like, I don't, other practices. I always wonder about, because people will say like, this item is haunted or this house is super haunted. And some people would say like, no, there's not just ghosts walking around, spirits walking around in just this house, creaking the floorboards or whatever. But what is your take on that? Like, is it an energetic imprint? Is it like this spirit just wants to stay in this room forever?
Okay, so there's different feelings I have depending on the circumstance. And I think in spiritualism, they believe that souls don't get stuck anywhere and you don't have to assist a soul to the other side. I mostly agree with that, meaning I don't think souls get stuck and we have to go hunt them down and retrieve them and all of that kind of stuff. I have felt where there's been traumatic events, an imprint that stays there. That could be like a psychic residue of the trauma, and that creates a spiritual energy that feels very much alive there. And then I've also felt places where there is definitely spiritual energy there, very much present in that space. As far as an actual item being haunted, I don't think I've directly encountered that, like a physical item being haunted, but it can have the energy of a spirit loved one. Like I love it when people bring me items from their people in the spirit world, because just holding it and it's like, all of this information comes through.
Yeah.
But we call that psychometry. It's a little bit of a different thing. That's like feeling an object, and then it just kind of opens a doorway to experiences. As far as physical locations, I mean, I've been to places where you can tell there's spirit activity there. There's no doubt in my mind. And sometimes the spiritual energies there are nefarious. So I do believe in that as well. So I believe that there's different levels of beings and consciousness in the spirit world. Some of it is good and some of it is not so good. And when our loved ones pass, I feel that they stay on a frequency of love. I've never felt anything different than that. But I do feel that there's lower vibrational entities or energies that can have nefarious intentions or can lead to nefarious activities in our lives if they glob onto us, or a space or something is left behind there through a negative encounter. I've had to extract those kind of beings from people and places before. And once you do that, it feels a lot different. Or even like in Egypt, because there's so many energies in so many places there. We just got back from an Egypt trip.
Yeah.
And I was clearing my group after we went into certain places because I could feel that there was negative spiritual energy, not negative psychic residue, but actually spirit activity.
Whoa.
Especially like Tutankhamun's tomb. Oh my God, that place was so heavy. And we hadn't gone in there the year before. We went this year, and I was like clearing everybody like at the end as they were walking out. There was just like heavy, dark, kind of, some of those spirits feel very playful, but not necessarily in a good way. And I could just feel it all around in that tomb.
Oh,
Walked
wow.
into other tombs, didn't feel any of that, So it was just interesting to feel the differences of energies in different places. So I definitely feel that there's locations, not all indoors, some outdoor locations too. You can feel energies of things, beings that are there, or imprints from things that have taken place there.
Is there anything that like your basic energetic and psychic protections won't be enough against? So like, aside from like just, setting clear boundaries and stuff energetically, or, whatever, are there things out there where that's just not enough? And sometimes like we might need a little extra help?
I mean, I always feel like we need help because there's always going to be opportunity to call in like the Reiki and or the spiritual beings that I work with, known and unknown to me, to be there and present, to surround my group, to surround whatever I'm doing. So I personally ask always the Reiki and sometimes other beings to be with me, because why not have that high frequency of energy as like a buffer or a protection layer, whatever the way you want to look at it.
Right.
And to clarify, you took a group of people to Egypt very recently on like, it was, what do you call it? A spiritual trip. Yeah.
Like just an adventure to see what's up.
Yeah, well, we went last year in 2024, and then I loved the experience so much. It was like a coming home to me. You know, there's certain places in the world that I've been to that I'm like, this place is my place. And when I was there, it felt so good to me. I felt very familiar with the place, and it just felt really good. So I planned another trip right away to bring another group back this year. I already have my trip. It's being launched this week for next year.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So hopefully I'll be going back, at least once a year for as long as I want to. But yeah, I lead a group on a spiritual trip. So we're sightseeing all of these different temples and the pyramids. We have private time in the pyramids and at the Sphinx and other kinds of activities that I do for the group. And so we're moving around every day, traveling and doing all of this kind of stuff through ancient Egypt.
That's amazing.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Didn't you say you did like a Reiki? You did Reiki in one of the pyramids, right?
Last year I did a Reiki experience, an animal Reiki experience, and then we were chanting in the pyramids, which was really powerful and beautiful. This year I was guided to do a Reiki level 1 placement in the Great Pyramid. We have 2 hours of private time in the pyramid. Wow. And I made a world peace grid, and I put a whole bunch of crystals around the world peace grid.
Like a crystal grid?
A crystal grid,
okay.
Yeah. So we have, it's called the World Peace Grid, which was developed by William Rand, and there's 7 of them in the world. And the idea is to help to manifest world peace. So it's may the followers of all religions and spiritual paths come together to find peace on earth, or something like that is the quote on it. Yeah. And it has basically 12 crystals around the outside, 1 on the inside, and it's on a gold-plated copper metal grid where the crystals are all attached to it. And it has Reiki symbols in it that you can't see as well. Anyway, so I brought a laminated just image of that along with some crystals and some shapes and hearts and all these things. And I put that in the Great Pyramid to charge it up. And also because the crystals, I gave some of the crystals to the people who were there, but I did a Reiki level 1 placement, and it was mind-blowingly powerful, to the point where I'm like, I think I need to teach some classes over there. But like the private time in the pyramid is really expensive. So, to have that integrated would raise the price of the class a lot. But it would also be amazing to like receive ignitions or more advanced, energetic experiences in there. But it was like, because the energy inside the pyramid is so still. It's the wildest thing.
Yeah. So hold on. I have 2 follow-up questions on that. And you're answering one of them right now. Is the first one would be, first of all, if you can briefly describe like when you are performing Reiki with a crystal grid, like what exactly is the benefit of using a crystal grid?
So the crystal grid is just there. So it's been charged up with the intention of sending energy for world peace. That was my intention, because as we know, there's a lot of circumstances happening in the world right now that need attention. And my goal would to bring peace to everybody who's suffering, right? Yeah. So the World Peace Grid was there just to be charged up with that intention inside of the grid, and I activate it with the Reiki energy, so then it's sending out that intention. So it's not necessarily a part of the placement directly, it's just something that we do with our Reiki systems. And so anybody can make a World Peace Grid. You learn how to do it in the Reiki Master training. as
Cool.
work with the World Peace Grid. And then the Reiki Level 1 placement, some of the people in the group were mentorship students of mine or previous Reiki students of mine or psychic mediums that had had Reiki training before. And then there were some people that had never had Reiki training before. So that's why I did a Reiki Level 1 placement. And so I invited the energy to come in and work with everybody in there. And a lot of the people, especially the people that had never had Reiki before, had these powerful spiritual experiences. Some of them felt their loved ones in spirit there with them. And then other people that are advanced, Reiki students also told me how powerful the experience was. I laid down because it just felt so intense and powerful. I wanted to go into the experience of it too.
Yeah.
So I laid down. I was sitting in front of the sarcophagus as I was performing this placement with the grid and everything. And it was just like this crazy strong energy filling this totally still room. And so they have these like air movers kind of cycling air in there because it can get really dense and very still and thick in there. And it got really thick. So they had these air circulators happening and it was loud. You hear this, loud humming noise and stuff. And the guy who was there from the Ministry of Antiquities eventually got up and like turned them off. So then it was just totally still air, this still dense air.
Wow.
And it was so intense and powerful. And I could feel this very masculine energy just coming in and kind of blanketing us in there.
Interesting.
He felt connected to the pyramid, not like the Reiki
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
It was really intense. And then several people went down because a lot of the ladies had bad knees or whatever. They didn't want to be climbing around too much in the pyramids. It is quite a physical experience. And about 5 of us went down into the Queen's Chamber afterwards, and they were chanting. The guy from the Antiquities, he wouldn't let us chant this year. He was very like, you have to follow the rules. But fortunately, our guide gave him a little bit of about it. And so he let us get into the sarcophagus, which we weren't allowed to do last year.
Wow.
So I spent some time in there, which was like, whoa, that was really intense. There's no way anybody was buried in there. It felt very energetic.
Okay. So that was my other follow-up question is that but do you have intuitive sense of what the pyramids are? Because it feels like
I would love to spend more time in there without when you're conducting something, you're leading a group, you're kind of attached to other people's experiences.
Sure, yeah.
But when I got to lay down in the sarcophagus and everybody left except for 1 or 2 other people in there, I could really feel the energy in there. And it was it felt like a box full of mysterious revelations or information. I just kept seeing all these light things coming out, of the box. And I felt like I was absorbing all of this knowledge just being in there. So it feels very advanced knowledge. That's what I would say.
What a trip.
But spiritual too. And then when we went down into the Queen's Chamber last year, it was full of equipment. And so I thought it was going to be the same because our guide said it was the same, but he just hadn't been in there in a long time. They had actually cleared everything out, which was great. And then there you just feel, they call it the Queen's Chamber. You feel this feminine energy. It's just this masculine energy in the King's Chamber and this feminine energy in the Queen's Chamber. And then he was like, okay, well, if you guys want to, you can go into the lower chamber, which goes underground underneath the pyramid. And it's this long, 300 plus foot tunnel that you have to go through. And anyways, it was this whole thing. And he's like, it takes 30 minutes round trip and you only have 30 minutes. So you got to go quick. And we were just I felt like I was Spider-Man, going down into this hole and coming back up as fast as I could. But that was really cool. By the time I came out of the pyramid this year, I think I was glowing just with the energy was so profound. It was very powerful.
Oh man, it probably feels like going into an entirely different world and coming out changed somehow.
Yeah. I was just expanded, and I felt bad because there was only 4 of us that ended up doing all of those things. Everybody else was just sitting on the bus waiting. They just left.
No.
I'm like, why did you leave so fast?
My
crazy. But the 4 of us that got to have most of those experiences. I spent most of the time in the sarcophagus, but Wow, it was incredible. Can you tell I like it there?
Well, I mean, it's such an interesting place, right? And it has so much or
So
all the
much
history ever.
energy.
And
Mhm.
yeah, it's got to be just loaded with who knows what.
It's powerful. Those places are powerful. And so many people have like been there in power since, right? It's not just the ancient Egyptian civilizations that
Right.
you feel the energy of, but it's definitely, you can feel like when you walk into certain parts of temples, like this year, we walked into a part of the Karnak temple that we hadn't been in last year. And I was very drawn to explore it because we hadn't been in there before. I'm always like, what can I do that's different or new? And so we went over there and it was a Ramses the third part. And I said to our guide, like, the energy feels awful over here. It's really heavy. And I keep seeing like blood and people murdered. And he's like, oh, that guy was known for being really savage and he killed a lot of people and tortured them. And I was like, ugh, I feel it. Like I could feel that energy.
Yeah.
And then you go into other temples, like the Temple of Hathor, Dendara Temple. That's like one of the best places ever. Became obsessed with Hathor last year.
Hathor's a deity too, right?
Yeah, she's like one of the oldest deities.
Yeah.
And she's like all about healing and love and, fertility and things like that. And that energy is just so powerful. And there's like sound healing temples in all of the temples for Hathor because she did sound healing. So, of course, that's something that I love. But at Dendara Temple, there's also a birthing temple where they would bring women to birth their children and do all these ceremonies for them there too. So you have all these different kinds of energy and the masculine and the feminine energy. And like all of the deities are balanced. They all have a masculine and a feminine partner, right?
Right. Yeah.
Gosh, it almost, I mean, just the way you're describing it is making me feel like it, like those were, I don't want to make any claims, but it almost feels like they were intended to collect a specific energy. Having them all like have very specific names and have very specific things happen in there. It's like, if these big stone walls could talk, you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. And they can. And when you go there and you stand against them and you have an experience with them, it's like, whoa, I can see like where the priests and the priestesses were doing their, magical work. And, it's so incredible. There's so much power in some of those places. And then some of the temples, you can really feel the duality of the light and the dark and that they did like positive things. And then you go into other sections and you're like, oh, it's really heavy back here. What were they doing back here? Or who then came and did something bad back here. And it's fun to feel all the different energies there. Man,
in such like energetically charged areas, no wonder you needed a Ghostbuster session afterwards.
Not every place is like that. Just some places are like heavier, so I'd be like clearing people.
Oh my God.
Get it off you.
Don't bring anything back on the bus, guys.
Everyone starts like fighting on the bus. Wait,
there's a lot of healing.
Oh, I bet. My God. When you say like you feel like you're coming back home when you're there, do you feel like maybe you had a past life there?
Oh yeah, I'm sure many.
Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah,
there's certain parts of the world. I've traveled quite extensively, fortunately, in my lifetime, and I hope to continue to do that for as long as possible because just being immersed in other cultures is so important to me. But also for me, it's really healing to travel. I love having new experiences. I love feeling at times for ourselves, learning different aspects of ourselves. But I would say there's only been a handful of places where I went there and I'm like, I know this place. This place is familiar. And that is one of those places. Like it just makes sense to me. But I mean, I'm like that in Israel. There's parts of the UK that I've felt that before too. I would say those are the 3 places so far that I've been to that I'm like, I know I've lived here before, for sure.
That's so cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
We need to get out of Newbury Park more. Since your car accident, like, how has all your practices like helped with your healing? Have you noticed a difference?
Yeah. So basically in the car accident, I had moderate to severe spinal cord compression in my cervical spine. and at 3 levels. And then I had a couple of ruptured or herniated discs down in my lumbar spine.
Fun.
And I think, lots of other things. I mean, my knee went out, my shoulder was all messed up. There was a lot of stuff. I was basically at a full stop, and a girl drove into me at a very high speed because she was texting and wasn't paying attention. And that she hit me really hard, totaled my vehicle, and then pushed me into the vehicle in front of me, so I got like 2, hits. And I was in a lot of pain, and I had a 3-level artificial disc replacement surgery in my cervical spine. And before and after that surgery, I received Reiki, and I had my crystals with me, and I called in the angels, and I did a juice cleanse, and I did all this stuff. And I healed really remarkably fast and well from that surgery. I still had the severe chronic sciatica happening from the injuries in my lumbar spine. And I just had this intuitive guidance that the Reiki was going to help me to heal that, and that I wasn't going to have the surgery that everybody said I had to have on my lumbar spine. So in the physical anatomy, the spinal cord stops at a certain part of our lumbar spine. And so my spinal cord wasn't directly involved like it was in my cervical spine, where they had to physically decompress my spinal cord and do all of this stuff in there. So the nerves were being impinged, but something told me I can get rid of this if I just keep working on the energy of it. And it took me almost 3 years, but eventually I did, and healed what was causing the pain in my body. So it didn't resolve the herniations, but I no longer had severe chronic sciatica once I was able to release the emotional stuff that was stuck there.
And that's
I never
huge.
had that surgery. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Whoa.
I have a stupid question. I'm so excited to ask you too. So I have a bad L4, L5.
Okay.
And this is, now that I'm thinking about this, I feel so dumb, but it's fine.
You've already started.
Yeah, I can't stop now. When you are performing Reiki on yourself, right? Mm-hmm. I know you don't have to put your hands directly over that spot, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I can't do this for.
Yeah.
I can't reach my hands around my back. So is it fine just to can you put your hands on any part of your body? Or I know even at a certain level, you don't even need to put your hands anywhere. You can just focus on your intention, right?
Yeah, you could ask at the beginning, where do my hands need to go to help me with this, resolve this, whatever it is that you're working on healing. So if it's a physical condition like back pain, you can ask for guidance. That's one of the things that we learn as Reiki Ho. We ask for guidance of where should my hands go, essentially, to treat that. So you can ask for guidance of where to put your hands. Now, if it's in an uncomfortable way for you, you could just place your hands on the front of your body instead of behind you there, because that's usually more comfortable, on your lower pelvic area. Or you can just lay with your palms facing up and just say, I'm receptive to receiving Reiki wherever I need it the most today to resolve this pain. And I would ask to get to the root of the issue. Now, obviously, all of us, as we age, our spines can take a toll, just the injuries come from repetitive use. Yeah. But I always teach, why do some things manifest in some of us and not in others? So often there's a correlation with emotions, which is energetic, and something stuck there that needs to be healed.
I've heard. I've heard.
Well, and the lower back, in that area, the lumbar spine is, very prominently connected to our emotions and other things, too, but our emotions. And so typically back pain is always connected to emotional stuff that needs to be healed.
And the root chakra, right? It's
can be the root chakra, but lumbar is more sacral chakra.
And sacral.
Yeah. If there's sciatica involved, that could be root chakra stuff too. Yeah, but usually it's first, second, and that could be earliest childhood stuff. Could be the first few years of your life if something happened.
Because it's time to revisit again. Here we go again.
Well, there's always layers, for healing, and it could be that there's stuff going on now or recently, but it also, if you go back to the root cause, what was the root cause of it, and it can also be ancestral sometimes when it's in our root chakra. Mm-hmm. So there might be things connected.
Yeah, I've heard that one too. Kind of leaning towards that one these days.
I wonder, your wife is pretty, aware. So maybe she shared some stuff with you.
Definitely.
Sometimes we listen to our partners and sometimes we don't, right?
Yes.
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 We can both say that. That's
Yes.
for sure.
Oh my gosh. Jules, thank you so much for talking with us today. Tell everybody where to find you and what's coming up next. What are you working on?
So I teach all the levels of Reiki. I teach psychic and mediumistic development and crystal healing. So people can find all about my classes, events, retreats, one-on-one sessions on healingwithjules.com. And I'm also on Instagram as @mediumjules and @Auralux. Reiki is for my business is called Auralux. And so healingwithjules.com. I have a retreat coming up in October in Thailand for people who want to go deeper into their healing. It's a self-love retreat. So we're going to be digging into different layers.
That's cool.
To help
That sounds so
heal.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then restore your central nervous system and all of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of different healing things we're doing that week. And then next year I'm also doing in February 2026, I have my Egypt trip. We're going back to Egypt. So people are interested in that stuff.
What a
Heck
blast.
Yeah.
Also, are you still doing the full moon Reiki meditations or not as?
Yes. I was in Egypt and then I was just in Canada. So sometimes I have to send them out, not on the full moon, but the monthly meditation I offer is for everybody who's open to join those. And those are free healing that I do for large groups of people.
Highly recommend.
Were you at the famous Canadian Great Pyramid or,
Yeah.
or Toronto?
There is a pyramid in Edmonton. No, I'm originally Canadian. I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And so some of my family is still up there and I hadn't seen them in a long time.
Oh,
so
fun.
I go see them
so
for a
cool.
holiday. Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah. Check out if nothing else, do the Reiki meditation, the full moon meditation. We've tried to do it and had our kids. It's right before bedtime. So we need to get back into it because even just 15 minutes of it that our kids actually did it, it was amazing.
It was very nice.
Also, you let me do it one time and I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Aw,
It's so peaceful and lovely. Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
I
good.
should be back on next month, although I'm like, I'm supposed to be out of town during the full moon next month too. So I have to figure out like how to be in the right time zone. But yes, those are monthly and they're free to sign up. And you can also find the information for those on my website.
Awesome.
And if you're
Awesome.
looking to take a Reiki class, take it from Jules because she's the best.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
I'm
for
so
having
glad we
me.
got to chat.
It was so nice to talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, Frank.
And I think we're going to have there's a whole list of questions I didn't get around to. So I'd love to have you back at some point in the future if you're available.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe after all your new world travels.
Yeah.
Something.
Maybe after you've been master attuned.
Sure.
Yeah. Ignited.
Ignited. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Have a good rest of your day.
Have a great one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening. Visit clairvoyaging.com for merchandise or to access free resources to help you on your spiritual journey. Subscribe to our Patreon for more content or join for free to chat with us. Clairvoyaging is a fiscally sponsored project of Fractured Atlas, a 501c3 charity. Make a tax-deductible donation to support our mission to foster understanding, respect, and curiosity for diverse spiritual belief systems. Clairvoyaging is a production of Wayfeather Media.